New tonight, I spoke with the governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. He is a Republican and former federal prosecutor. And while he does not support the impeachment of President Trump, the governor did say that the president's words and actions have diminished the office of the presidency. Well, I do want to get your response to what has just happened in Washington, D.C. Of course, the House voting to impeach President Trump for a second time. Your reaction?
Well, it's a very sad day for America. Anytime you have a president that goes through this trauma of an impeachment, and I understand the House wanting to hold accountability, but whenever we're looking at a transition into a new administration, this is a very tough time for America. I hope that we can get back and focus on what brings us together. I hope that we can focus on a peaceful inauguration next year, and that we get back to the very serious work of getting our vaccinations out. Congress has got a lot of work to do, and I don't think that this is helpful in accomplishing what we need is bringing our country together.
In terms of the president's speech last week, do you believe that his rhetoric, his words incited the violence that we saw?
Well, I think first of all, you'd be hard-pressed, and I've been a federal prosecutor, you'd be hard-pressed to use those words and say that alone is what instigated what happened in our nation's capital. Converting words to criminal conduct is a heavy burden of proof. Now, it's different whenever you're looking at the political issues surrounding impeachment, and that's a different level of accountability, but the criminal case has got some challenges there. Now, in terms of what he said, the mistake was misleading supporters that to the extent of fraud, and that you ought to stand against the Electoral College that undermines our system of government and really the role of the states as well. Brought them there, and then certainly encouraged them to go to Congress and not pulling them back. It was a deep concern to us. So no, I think his words, his language, his conduct after the election has diminished the office of presidency and certainly diminished his standing in the party and with many Americans.
Governor, the FBI is warning of armed protests being planned this weekend in all 50 state capitals. What can you tell us about the preparations underway at your state capital?
We did have some few protesters the other day. We have another one, I understand, that's planned on this Sunday. Historically, we've had peaceful protests here, but we're going to be prepared, if necessary, to protect our capital and our citizens.
Governor, let's discuss COVID in the state of Arkansas. I'm looking at some of the latest numbers: 259,000 plus cases, 25,000 plus deaths, and more than 1,300 people in the hospital. I do know that you all have seen a recent spike in cases. So how are you addressing the increase?
Our hospitalizations are high. We're coordinating our response, and we still have a margin to work with, but it's such a strain on our hospitals, and we want to see those cases go down. Most troubling is that our deaths are way too high. We have many elderly population here in the state. Our nursing home residents are hit dramatically, and that's exactly the reason we have to work on both getting our cases down, but also on getting that vaccination out to our most vulnerable.
And you have said that you are not satisfied with the rate of vaccine distribution. What have been the biggest challenges in making sure that we're able to get vaccines into people's arms, particularly in your state?
Well, part of it is we are a rural state, and if you want to distribute it to every area of the state, you have to have a lot of partners. You have low-density populations, and that's why I'm a little bit troubled by the administration saying we want to go to a speed of allocation in terms of determining how much vaccine the state's going to get. No, I haven't been satisfied over the last couple of weeks. Part of it is the slow development of the program, but also part of it is the fact that we have a limited supply, and we have more people that need it than we have the supply, and that takes a lot of management, a lot of logistics to get it to the right people and to make sure that we're distributing it fairly.
Governor Hutchinson says that he has not received the vaccine yet, but he plans to. He is 70 years old. We also want to point out that we are efforting interviews and inviting other governors, both Republican and Democrat, to get their responses, not only on what is happening in our nation's capital and across the country, but plans for protests at state capitals this weekend and also their response to COVID-19.